What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to our Star Trek movie marathon with the 5th film in the series, still starring the original cast. It's Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Now it's time for a history lesson, folks. Star Trek has a curse. It is so widely known that there's even a trope about it, that the odd-numbered Star Trek films are worse than the even-numbered. Star Trek 1 was the motion picture, and it was just boring trying to be a visual spectacle for anybody that'll listen. Star Trek 2 was Wrath of Khan, which many consider to be one of the best Star Trek films ever made, if not best. Star Trek 3 was Search for Spock, again, kind of mediocre. Star Trek 4 was The Voyage Home, which was incredibly funny and also stands out as one of the best Star Trek films ever. Star Trek 5 is this film, and I'll say the curse actually holds a little bit of weight, but there's still elements to this movie that I think are fantastic. Others, not so much. So if you're a Philomath, come along and let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, Philomath, a lover of learning. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, takes our crew where no man has gone before, when an extremely mysterious Vulcan by the name of Sybok hijacks the Enterprise and brainwashes the crew, convincing them to fly to the center of the universe where he believes the planet responsible for creation is found. First of all, I'd like to start with the negatives, but instead I'm going to start with the positives because those negatives are... The main thing that I want to talk about that's good is this Jim Jones villain, Sybok, who Spock has a history with back on Vulcan. This guy's like a cult leader, and he's either really passionate about what he's doing, or he's just manipulative so that others will follow his every whim. He's mysterious and very, very interesting. Thinking back on every Star Trek movie villain thus far, he's up there with Khan for me, because in a way, he's so alluring that even you can fall victim to what he's selling. Even you want to see what's on the other side, and that's just it. Flying to the center of the universe, it's most likely suicide, kind of like drinking Kool-Aid. But he sells the possibility of what that means so well that you want to know more. And the way that he brainwashes people is also pretty interesting. He has a line that he speaks over and over again about seeing people's pain and wanting to share that with them so that they don't have to have that pain. And I love Kirk's response to it. He just yells back, "Pain is what makes us who we are. I want my pain. I need my pain." Which truthfully has to be one of my favorite lines from Kirk up to this point. So I can't just sit here and say that this is a bad Star Trek movie all around, because I absolutely dug the Sybok character, his history with Spock, his mysterious and alluring way about himself. I loved his end goal, the concept of the film overall. Honestly, I dug it all. But I did say that there were some glowing problems too, and that mostly had to do with the writing. You see, William Shatner, at least in part, wrote the script here, and he can direct a film okay, but he should probably stay away from writing it. He's a weird writer. This movie both opens up and ends with Kirk, Spock, and Bones singing "Row, row, row your boat." That's right, they do it twice in the movie. And they do it around a campfire. And I'm sorry, that's not Star Trek. And I'm sure that his intentions were fine. I'm sure it had something to do with keeping things light, familiar, and warm. Maybe bring us back to our roots, back to our childhood, back to family. You know, I get it, but it's a little bit too much. Beyond that, William Shatner just says lines here and there that are kind of unprompted and random, like when Kirk and crew are in an elevator, and it's just this prolonged sequence for no reason. Kirk looks over to Spock and says, "I could use a shower." Who asked you, man? Why are you telling the world that you stink? Later on, he's like, "I have to sit down." Dude, just sit. It's like he felt the need to interject dramatic pauses with dialogue because he just got too uncomfortable with the silence. The dialogue isn't the only bad thing, but it is the most prominent. I would also argue that some of the visuals weren't very good. I felt like the world at this point was starting to play around more with CGI, and the same can be said here. And pretty much any time they do this, it just looks awful. It just wasn't ready yet to dive deeper into that kind of work. The last negative that I have to say here is the random freaking Klingons. Throughout the movie, you have Klingons following Kirk and Sybok, just wanting to shoot them because they felt like shooting things. Even in the beginning of the movie, the Klingons are seen shooting satellites because they always want to shoot stuff. Their worth in this film is so pointless and so stupid, and I can't eat. Thankfully, they're not in a ton of the movie, and you can mostly just focus on the good. But as a whole, that's it. Those are the biggest downfalls that I have for the film, and I can see that yes, it's still a movie that's not as good as 2 or 4. But thankfully, since I really dug a lot about the film, I would actually say it's better than 1 or 3, take that as you will. When we look at my end score, you'll see that my bias mostly agreed with my unbiased score. That unbiased technical score is 78%, which basically means it was average, maybe a little bit better than that because Sybok was a well-developed villain. My bias score is 80% because for the most part, I did enjoy this movie. I had a good time with Sybok, with the concept that had me questioning what'll happen next. All that. Averaging out the two scores, it comes down to 79%, 79 out of 100 possible stars, granting this film with a letter grade of C+. So yeah, curse is a little bit of a heavy word, makes it sound terrible, when in all actuality, the curse just means the odd-numbered movies are worse than the even-numbered movies. That's it. Which means that Star Trek VI is bound to be great, right? I mean, I've watched all these films in the past, but I don't exactly remember them well enough to tell you if I liked The Undiscovered Country or not. I guess we'll find out next time. So make sure that you don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when I release that review. In the meantime, tell me your thoughts on The Final Frontier in the comments section down below. Do you think that this one is one of the worst Star Trek films out there? Do you believe in the Star Trek curse? Let me know. And until next time, peace!